Good morning, good morning, good morning on this beautiful, beautiful morning. I am Dr. Barbara Howard, as Miss Eva so graciously presented, and my speech may not be as long as that introduction. But I would like to say that this morning I concur with the words from a poem by the late Dr. Maya Angelou when she said, "I come as one, but I stand as 10,000." I came to speak to you today about the subject, breaking the silence and erasing the stigma of domestic violence. But first, I would like to read to you this poem that I wrote. It says, "Have you heard me speak about it? No, but in my silence, I cry about it loudly. Have you heard me speak about it? No, but in my mind, I try to rationalize it constantly. Have you heard me speak about it? No, but in my silence, I think about it day in and day out, constantly, quietly. So why am I silent? Because how do I explain it all when it barely makes sense to me how he uses me as a punching bag when he needs to vent? Why am I so silent? Because the words cut like a knife. They are calculated, cold, and bitterly crafted to bring me to tears or emotional strife. Why am I so silent? Because how could I know about the separate bank account, the extra money going out, or the many tricks and means of financial abuse and schemes? Why am I so silent? Because who will believe my story? He wears the disguise so well. Or maybe in my world, this abuse is the norm and silence is the way I endure through the storm. See, if you don't understand my silence, you can't understand my words, as it has been once said. So today I'm letting it all out and I'm clearing my head. I'm breaking the silence and vocalizing the pain. I'm breaking the silence and erasing the shame. I'm breaking the silence and erasing the shame. Thank you. I wrote this poem from a female perspective, but in Mississippi, 39.7% of domestic violence is against females and 31.7% is against males. So you could easily adjust the he to she, because the truth of the matter is that men victims are often silent also. Although it is treated like a secondhand statistic, 15% of all violent crime in the U.S. is intimate partner violence. I would like to be able to give you a statistic of the number of homicides stemming from domestic violence, but that information is no longer released for public data according to the website, and the data are not available. But I can tell you about my cousin Ronnie, who in 2018 was shot and killed by his stepson. I can tell you about my former student, Zan Markia, who in 2019 was shot and killed by her boyfriend. I can tell you about my sorority sister, Fionicia, who in 2020 was shot and killed by her ex-boyfriend. Although the data are not available, I dare say that of the many that died, it was most likely not their first time being abused. No, it is just that the silence made way for more and more abuse. Silence. See, in Mississippi, you have to be convicted 3 times before the abuse can be considered a felony. So in all practicality, the offender gets 3 times to practice killing you before he is treated like a criminal. Silence. As a matter of fact, it is often the police who help accentuate the abuse by victimizing the victim. I know that story all too well. And when it comes to the church, family, friends, and society, they tend to do the same thing, shame the victim. So there is silence. But today, I am breaking the silence. Voice is power. When God created the universe and everything in it, he spoke and said, "Let there be," and there was. Our voice is part of our identity, our very presence, and sometimes even our essence is exemplified by our voice. I was going to a friend's shop the other day, and she was working in the back, so I spoke, and then I said, "This is Barbara." She said, "I know, I recognize your voice." Right now, if I were to ask you to close your eyes and I played a recording of the "I Have a Dream" or the "Free at Last" speech by its proper name, you would immediately recognize it was Dr. Martin Luther King, because you would recognize his voice. Even Jesus imparted the importance of voice in John 10:27 when he said, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." We have to be a voice for those who can no longer speak, and we have to encourage and support those who can. We can support by reaching out. They may feel insecure or ashamed and alone. Try to include them in activities and events. We can support by listening. Don't jump in with advice or assume that you know what is best. Let the person tell you their own story and then tell them you believe them. We can support by not judging or blaming. There are many reasons why a person may not leave a violent partner. Let them know it's not their fault. We can support by providing resources. Give them information and phone numbers for the various sources of help, such as Butterflies by Grace and Mississippi Coalition Against Domestic Violence and others. And we can support them by asking what we can do to help. They may need a babysitter or a ride or help with food or personal items or calling 911 for assistance. All of these things were condensed and taken from one of the brochures provided by the Mississippi Coalition Against Domestic Violence. You know, I will never hear my cousin Ronnie say, "Hey fam," again. And I will never hear my former student Zan Markia saying, "Okay, Dr. Howard," again. And I never got an opportunity to hear my sorority sister Fionisha's voice. But today, you and I can be a voice for them. And the many that are currently suffering silently, by bringing attention to domestic violence, educating the community, and helping to erase the stigma associated with being abused. There's always the chance that what is happening to someone else today could be happening to you or someone you love tomorrow. So there is no room for silence. We must take the pledge. We must take the pledge to take action as an advocate for healthy relationships. We must pledge to believe survivors of relationship abuse, to amplify the voices of those who have been silenced, to actively work against oppression of all types, to commit to being a part of the change needed to create a community that is safe and just for every person. We must break the silence and erase the shame. Thank you for hearing me today.